Hi, and welcome to the 10th episode of Between Sundays, or as our co-host Camden likes to call it, our Decasode.
Yay!
Yay! And with us is today's returning guest, our preschool and children's pastor, Shannon Radosevich.
Hello!
So Shannon, we experience it every day. The cell phone in our hands when we wake up, the television in our living room, the iPad in our kids' hands. It kind of feels like we're competing for attention within a mobile force. So what are your thoughts on that?
So we had Family VBS back in June, and we talked about this very thing, screen time, and how much and what's good for kids and what's not. And we used a book called Habits of the Household and talked about ways during our daily schedule that we can develop good habits. And yes, it does seem like screens are taking over everything. Every downtime we have, we pull out a screen. Or if we're at the restaurant, we pull out a screen. It spills over into other parts of our day, right? Like I was at Disney World last week and kids had their screens in their stroller and they're missing all the things at Disney World. So screens kind of have taken over. So I like to say that yes, screens can be too much, and we should be encouraged to be present with our kids at all times. It's like, I like to tell my family, be where your feet are. So if your feet are here, it's not here. And don't kind of be, as another author said, forever elsewhere when you're on your screen. So it is too much, and we've got to kind of start paying attention to that.
Dialing it back.
Yes.
The Disney one is sad.
It is. There's so much going on.
Yeah, well, you pay a lot of money to be there.
Right, that's that too.
So sounds like it's possible for kids to have too much screen time. What does that look like?
So we have found in some of the books we've read that like dinner time or screen time are all correlated to good health for children. Mental health, emotional health, even physical health. If they do too much of that, then it's going to start limiting their good emotional health or their good social interactions that they get from doing dinner time and being present with other people. And so we want families to start interacting with one another rather than having the screens right in front of them. So there's a new book out called Anxious Generation, and the author, Jonathan Haidt, he writes about this well-being, this mental well-being of kids, and he calls it children that are being raised in a phone-based childhood versus a play-based childhood. And that's a big difference. If you, even like when we were young, we think about all the playing that we did versus what kids do now on their screens. So he suggests that as parents, we are overprotecting our children in the real world and underprotecting our children when it comes to screens. And that's big.
Yeah.
In a phone-based childhood, they're no longer getting exposure to everything that's around them. They're just staring at a screen and they have no face-to-face interaction.
So in that case, what are some steps that parents could take to limit the amount of screen time that their kids are experiencing on the regular?
So I brought several, a list for myself so I can remember them, because there's a lot that parents can kind of pick and choose from, and they don't have to do all of these. They could just choose one that maybe they would like to implement. But I'm sure we're all familiar with the new movie Inside Out 2. And if you haven't watched that, that is a perfect video or movie to watch with your family about emotions and middle school and all the things that go in. But they hired a clinical psychologist named Lisa DeMoore to come in and help them with, she does a lot of research on emotions and growing and developing, especially in the middle school age. But she talks about how phones can interact with their sleep. So that's kind of the first suggestion is she's suggesting that make sure that children, and very much so middle schoolers and teenagers, high schoolers, can get good rest. So this phone does not need to go in their room. That bedroom needs to be screen-free zones so that they can make sure they get good rest at night, and because that directly correlates to their emotional and physical health if they're not getting good rest. Also, you could choose when you get home to have one location for all your phones or devices to go in, or like a charging station where you can put all your phones in when you get home, so that once they're home and they're not glued to any kind of screen. Now, that's not to say that maybe, after dinner and you're about to go to bed, you decide to watch a show, or you go, okay, hey, 10 minutes on your phone and then we're going to bed. But a one central location so that kids are not constantly like feeling for their phone or where'd I put it, that kind of thing. Like they just get panicked. For parents, we need to do our research on parental controls. So there's all kinds out there. You just have to find the one that you like, such as I've heard some parents use Bark, BARK, and it's something you can download on their phones. Life 360 is a very popular one where it kind of tracks their kids so you can see where they are, but then also limiting. And then I know that all phones, especially these, have parental controls that you can choose. You can lock down that phone to only say you can only text this person, or you can only call this, or you can't share pictures, all that kind of stuff. So you've got to find some parental controls and kind of lock that thing down to protect it. Going back to Jonathan Haidt, he suggests several things that are very against the norm, and it makes us a little anxious to think about it, but it's not too bad. So he's saying no social media before 16. So no Facebook, no TikTok, no Instagram, whatever it is. Parents, kids aren't on Facebook or Instagram really anymore, so you got to go start searching for what they are on. But he's saying none of that before age 16. So that's, at least sophomore in high school. He's saying that no cell phones before middle school. So you got to be careful about that. When do you want to give your child any kind of device?
Yeah.
And then social media, going back to social media, like for girls, it's even worse for girls when they get on that social media with their mental health. So there's a ton of research out there about if we give them social media, what it does to their emotional well-being and their thoughts of how they view themselves versus like what other people view themselves as well. And they're basing it on what they see right there. So sometimes parents go, but all my kids' friends already have a phone, or all my friends' kids already have social media. What do I do? There are families out there that don't. So you got to find them, So if you're here at Deer Meadows, find some families here at Deer Meadows that their child doesn't have a phone or their child doesn't have social media, and band together. And so when your child says, oh, but all my friends have it, you can go, no, so-and-so doesn't have it, so you're not the only one, right? So that they don't feel left out.
Yeah.
And then the last one I would think is face-to-face interaction. Encourage that as much as possible. Our kids need to know how to have conversations with one another. They need to know how to say please and thank you, or to speak to somebody. They need to know how to order their food at a restaurant or things like that. So, and they can't do that when they're constantly staring at their phone. Mm-hmm. So this can be a tool we use, not a tool for interaction. Interaction is with the people we're in front of.
Where your feet are.
Be where your feet are. Yes.
So what are some benefits? You mentioned play-based childhood earlier. So what are some more benefits of that play-based childhood?
We want our kids to have as much time outside playing rather than inside sitting in front of a screen or a video game, mm-hmm. or staring at their phone like that. So we want to send them outside as much as possible. Now, when it's 100 degrees like it is in Jacksonville today, then maybe we find other things to play, but they can still play in your home without a screen. So here's some things about play. If they play, and especially when they play with other people, siblings or neighbors or friends, or down at the park with, boys playing football or whatever it is, here's what happens. We like to call it free play, but here's what happens. It becomes unsupervised. So it means we're not there to see what's going on and, hey, stop that. No, don't do that, that kind of thing, interjecting our thoughts into it. It's child-led. So the kids are deciding what they play. They decide what rules are in their game. They may even decide, I don't want to play that game today. I'm going to go do this. So it's child-led. They learn to, when they get hurt, kind of brush it off and move on. So, they fall down, they scrape their knee, I'm good. And they get up and keep playing because mama's not there. Oh, are you okay? Are you okay? Let's get a Band-Aid. They're probably fine. So let them keep playing. They learn how to handle emotions. So if they've decided on rules and something goes awry and they get mad, they have to learn inside them or with their friends how to handle that. Do I blow up, or do I just go, okay, fine, I'll let you go next. I was really first, but you go next. Or no, I'm out. I'm not playing. And all those are ways that they're having to learn with that group of people. They learn how to take turns. And that's very important, right?
Yes.
To share and take turns. And they learn how to resolve conflict. So when a conflict arises, instead of mama stepping in for them, they learn how to figure it out with one another. So all that can happen when we send our kids outside to play on their own, to be creative and figure out what to do instead of being in front of a screen.
I love that. I kind of miss that. I feel like kids are missing out on a big part of that kind of play.
For sure. And parents are kind of scared to send their kids out these days, right?
Yeah.
Like they're worried something's going to happen because of all the things that they've heard on the news or whatever, on Facebook or whatever. But the chances of that happening are very low.
Yeah,
Very low.
You can start off small, like supervised, but at a distance,
Yeah. Or, they're playing across the street at another house and you can still see them, but they're not right under you. So, there's options. Yeah.
Perfect. So what are some steps that parents can take to encourage more interactive play in the household? That's we talked a little bit about it, but what are some things that you as a parent have experienced or research-based suggestions?
So send them outside or send them to go play without any screens or anything like that. Encourage them to do things on their own without mama, so they can, or daddy or whoever, that's not on a screen. So, I know sometimes in my house it's like, hey, let's go do this. Oh, can I look up how to do it on the computer or whatever? No, go figure it out. So, there's lots of options, crafts, coloring, whatever. You can go do that. And then I think one of the recent things I've heard is giving kids things to do that help with their independence. So I heard someone say this week on a podcast, ask your kids, what is something you would want to do on your own without mom and dad? And that's brilliant. Yeah. Like, what if someone said, I want to bake some banana bread? Okay, here's the recipe. And step back and watch them do it. And along those same lines, it's like when they say, I want to bake the banana bread, and they go, hey, Mom, stop for just a second, Mama, and count to 5 or count to 10 before you respond. And then their next thing might be, oh, never mind, I got it. So helping create independence by letting them do things is a big, a big part of all the childhood play or interactive or being with other people or just simply learning to do things on their own that they wouldn't otherwise learn to do.
You're not like big on you have to buy the big special toys or anything, because I've heard lots of parents are like, you have to have certain kinds of toys to encourage play. And
right. If you think about it, a lot of people, we were just talking about this, a lot of people have pictures from their childhood or from their own kids where the child is in the pantry or in the kitchen. They've opened up the cabinet and they've pulled all the pans out. That is free right there.
Free toys.
The free toys. That's exactly right. And they'll sit there while you're cooking dinner and bang on it or, give them a spoon, that kind of thing. So you got plenty of things. I'm sure we all have plenty of things around the house that they can, and if not, give them the time to be creative to find something to play with. They can we give our kids that go to worship here at Deer Meadows little bags, and they have pipe cleaners in them. They're just plain straight pipe cleaners. And the creations that we get back in those bags are amazing. We got a tennis racket back one time. A kid had made their pipe cleaner into a tennis racket.
That's clever.
While they were sitting there listening to the sermon. So kids will figure it out. Yeah.
That's smart. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So earlier you had referenced a book called Habits of the Household. So what are some habits that families can develop based on the book to encourage more familial and faith-based growth?
Yes.
That was a tongue twister.
Yes, it is. That's true. We're going to be talking about habits of the household in 2026 in our kids ministry and family ministry. We're going to kind of walk through that book. And like I said, we talked about it at Family VBS just a little bit. But one thing is practicing your faith in front of your children, but during normal routines. So we're not asking parents to add anything extra to their already busy day. But there are already habits of your household that you do probably every day. Breakfast is a good one. Car time. There, you all spend time in the car going all the million places, right? Or bedtime. Those all happen. Or standing in front of the mirror brushing your teeth while your kids are there. That all happens. So how can you use those times that are already there to talk about faith things? And it could be simple things like what good happened today, and then turning it around to something about the Lord. We read all throughout the Bible that we're made in relationship with one another. So how can you build your relationship with one another as a family? And that leads right into not rushing and having some times of rest in your household, because this fast-paced world is not what we were meant for. We were not meant to go from one thing to another and just drag ourselves along. And so we're made to rest and be with one another. And that's where this all comes together. And so John Ortberg, he says that you could choose, be real intentional with your week, your month, or your year. Like during this, or even just today, what is 1 hour today where I could rest myself or rest with my family and just be downtime? What is one day this week that we could do that together? What is 1 week out of the entire year that we could rest together and not be on screens or not have full schedules? So those are good habits to take up. But then also he says, we need to wake up before our devices, and we need to put the devices to bed before we do. So wake up before they do, the devices, and put the devices to bed before we go to bed, so that we're not laying in bed staring at them, or that's the first thing we pick up or whatever. And in those times, we could pick up a Bible, or we could pick up a devotion, or we could just pick up a good book that we like to read, right? Where we find our rest. So we're going to be looking at that with family ministry in 2026.
That's great. That's a really good idea.
Well, I'm excited.
Any additional thoughts that you'd like to add before we wrap up today, Shannon?
I want to encourage families that it's not too late. Like if you have heard all this and you're like, I didn't do any of that, and my child already has a phone and they already have TikTok, you're like, you have not gone too far. It's okay. You can still pick or choose some of these to put in place in your home. And it is always okay to kind of backtrack with your family and go, you know what? I've done some reading, or I heard a podcast, or whatever it is, and I think we need to change a few things. And you can say, hey, I'm going to put some controls on your phone so that you only have a certain amount of time. Or say, you know what, we haven't been doing a good job with dinner time. So for this week, when you come in, phones go in that basket and we're all going to sit down for dinner. Like it's okay to backtrack, tell them why you're backtracking, and say, this is what we're going to try for this week, or whatever it is. It's just never too late. And you haven't ruined your kid. You know, if you've done that, you haven't ruined your kid. And it's okay to kind of backtrack and put more importance on the things that are most important with families.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, and if you would like to ask your questions about more resources and less screen time, feel free to send us your questions at questions@dearmeadows.org. And also, we'd love it if you'd like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And we're just glad you came and joined us today. So until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.